We'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Zawada.
Here.
Mr. Brophy.
Here.
Ms. Diroff.
Present.
Mrs. Kratz.
Here.
Ms. Nyman.
Here.
Mrs. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Here.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Here.
Mr. Pinarello.
Here.
All present.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. BASD NJROTC will be displaying the colors for tonight.
Forward. March. Color. Hold. Left. Face. Present. Colors. Every colors. Ready. Cut. Stage. Exit.
Okay, there is no previous executive session. It takes us down to item 3, recognition showcase, and I'd like to introduce myself as Dr. Scott David Heiser, Superintendent of Schools here in the Boyertown Area School District, and I'd like to welcome all of our guests and all of our presenters this evening, as well as all of our students receiving recognition this evening. Our first, item A, Light the Fight Bash Team, Boyertown Area Senior High School student candidates Lulu McKinnon, Gianna Martin, and Piper Zaharchuk, and their team members. As you may remember, this winter, their team, Light the Fight, dedicated countless hours in the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's LLS Student Visionaries of the Year campaign, a 7-week fundraising challenge benefiting LLS's mission of curing blood cancers. I'm pleased to share with you that this incredible team representing Boyertown Area Senior High School raised $32,746 for our mission, and Light the Fight is our 2025 Student Visionaries of the Year runner-up. In addition, Light the Fight, along with 15 other teams in the Lehigh Valley and Northeast Pennsylvania regions, collectively raised over $253,000. This evening, it's our pleasure to have Gianna, Lula, and Piper here with us to go through a short presentation about their fundraising efforts. Take it away.
We'd like to thank you for inviting us. We'd like to thank you for inviting us today, and here's our agenda for what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. My name's Piper Zaharchuk.
My name is Lula McConan.
And I'm Gianna Martin.
And we were the campaign leaders for Team Light the Fight of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Some campaign highlights for what we did was we raised over $1,500 from car washes held at our local Argentos. We organized a card creation drive in partnership with the school's Key Club, where we donated 150 plus cards to the Riley's Children's Hospital. We presented to our local businesses to forge sponsorships, visited hospitals, attended workshops, and had meetings with LLS staff weekly. And we were also able to meet with a local lymphoblastic leukemia survivor.
So over the course of our 7-week campaign, our team was actually able to raise $33,746 because we received a late $1,000 donation. So we raised this money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And this wouldn't have been possible without the generosity of so many, from friends and family to community members and to countless individuals who believed in our mission and supported us along the way. We really wanted to give a special shout out to some key partners who had a huge impact in our fundraising. Okay. So we're incredibly grateful to Global Advanced Metals, Penske, Veterans Making a Difference, and Hager Biosciences for their generous support. We also want to thank Rita's and Argento's for the opportunity to host fundraisers at their location. Their contributions not only boosted our fundraising efforts, but also helped spread awareness and bring more people into this mission. So we want to thank them for standing with us in the fight against blood cancers.
We also wanted to talk about a little bit our future plans for our team after this year. So next year, Gianna and Piper hope to continue their teams for their senior year, and they will return as visionaries next year. And we hope to inspire everyone with our efforts this year. As much as we fundraised, we do have the goal of raising $50,000 next year. So if you are interested in being involved, please reach out to one of us. Is it this one? And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for your time, and we cannot thank the Boyertown community enough for their support, and kind of to everyone who volunteered and donated and shared our mission. Your generosity helped us make a difference in funding life-changing research. Thank you so much.
Ladies, if you would just remain there for 1 minute, I'd like to present you with a certificate of recognition. And in this certificate, it reads, "In recognition of our students' outstanding achievements as a member of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's 2025 Student Visionaries of the Year Light the Fight team representing Boyertown Area High School, we congratulate you for all of your efforts. And we truly appreciate all the things you've done with regard to the community. Thank you."
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Takes us down to our second recognition of the evening, and this is Middle School West Math Counts team. The Math Counts team, congrats to our Math Counts team for the Middle School West for winning this year's regional competition and qualifying for the state competition. Middle School West some tongue-tying tonight. Middle School West Math Counts team members are Brandon Rizzo, Daniel Kovach, Brady James, and Anthony Merkovich. Coaches are Christy Parrish and Mallory Jacoby. Since the Boyertown West Math Counts team won first place in the county competition, they were invited to travel to Harrisburg to compete against the top schools in the state. Students that arrived at the hotel on Friday night were able to participate in an engineering activity hosted by the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. They constructed a structure that had to meet minimum height requirements and hold a minimum amount of weight. The following day, they competed against the top mathletes in the state over several rounds from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. After that, they were able to watch the top 10 compete for a spot at nationals during an exciting head-to-head competition. Boyertown Middle School West ended up finishing 18th in the state. Congratulations to the entire team for their hard work and dedication throughout the year. So I would like to invite to the podium our mathletes, and that includes Brandon, Daniel, Brady, and Anthony. If you would please join us at the podium. And I know you have a short presentation along with a little bit of a quiz for our board members this evening. Is that correct? Okay, so take it away.
So, I'm Brady James. I'm in 8th grade, and I was on the Math Counts team. I'm going to take you through what a Math Counts competition would look like. So, when you arrive, the first round is the sprint round. This is 30 questions in 40 minutes without a calculator. This round, I would say it's not as hard as the target rounds, but opinions will vary on how well you are with the tricks with Math Counts. The second round is the target rounds. This round is 8 questions presented in pairs with 6 minutes per question pair. This round you are allowed to use your calculator, but the questions themselves are harder with more calculations involved and less of the tricks for Math Counts. The final round is the team round, which is 10 questions in 20 minutes. You're allowed to collaborate and use your calculators among 4 team members. The team members at the chapter competition were Brandon Rizzo, me, Daniel, and Anthony. We placed number 1, and that was how we moved on to state. Unfortunately, Mr. Rizzo was not able to join us at the state competition, so we had to have an alternate fill-in.
Just gonna move that. Hi, I'm Daniel Kovac. I'm in 8th grade, and I was also a member of the Math Counts team. So, and continuing off of what Brady said, the last round at the Math Counts competitions is the countdown round, which contains the top 10 students in the competition going head to head against each other, and there's a screen on stage, and it shows the problem, and you have 30 seconds or so to do the problems. You're not allowed to use a calculator, but you can if you finish it before the 30 seconds is up, then you are allowed to buzz in and answer. If you're right, you get a point. And basically how the point system works is, so the first 5 rounds in the countdown round, it's the best out of 3 against the 2 students. But then for the last 5, it's the first to 3 problems right moves on. And if you get a question wrong, you're not penalized in any way. So, yeah. So how it works is the first round in the countdown round is the 10th place student against the 9th place student. And then whoever wins that round goes on to go against the 8th place student, and then so on and so forth until it's the first place student against whoever they have to go against. And whoever wins that is the first place in the whole competition. And basically, so if you say you are originally 9th place in the competition, but after the countdown round you move up to 6th place, then you're 6th place because you moved up. And actually I was originally 8th place from my scores in the previous rounds, but then I moved up to 4th place in the countdown round from winning against the students that I was placed against. Yeah, that's basically it.
All right, so I'm going to talk about how we did. My name is Anthony Merkovich, and I'm in 6th grade. So at the county round, there were 9 different schools that each had a team of 4, just like us, and there were overall 81 students in the whole competition. Our team placed first in the county round out of all 9 teams, and 7 of us from West were in the top 20 in the county round, and 4 of us were in the top 10. Daniel was in 8th place, and he worked his way up to 4th place in the countdown round, which he was just talking about. And Brandon got 1st place from the sprint and the target rounds, but since he had lost against a 2nd place person, he then got 2nd place in the overall competition. and since our team was able to get first in the county round, we moved on to states, which includes all the teams that got first, a couple of wild card teams, and the top 3 individuals from each county. At the states, there were 160 students and 24 teams. West's team got 18th out of the 24 teams in the state. Oh, that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I believe you have a couple of problems that you'd like to share with our audience, including our board here this evening. So we can shift to the 2 problems. I'm actually going to hand this out as a hard copy to our board members to be able to work on this right now. And this is the lightning round. So you've got a minute on each problem. We're going to start with the first.
I think I got
You're down to 15 seconds.
He's like, please don't miss it. Please don't miss it.
All right, Daniel, Brady, Anthony, why don't you, one of you, step us through how you come up with the correct answer for this problem?
Okay, so for the first problem, it is Lori sells cars and gets a 15% commission on each sale. How much did a car sell for in dollars if Lori earned a $3,000 commission? The way I solved this was I set the amount the car was as X and set it to 0.15X, or 15% of X, is equal to $3,000. So 0.15X equals 3,000. Then you would divide both sides by 0.15. So 0.15X divided by 0.15 equals X. And 3,000 divided by 0.15 is 20,000. So the car would be sold for $20,000.
All right, great explanation. Thank you. All right, board, we all got that, right? Yep. Okay. All right, how about the second question? Let's give our board and give our audience about 30 seconds to see what they can do with this. Go ahead.
I realize I can move it up here, but I thought I could. Did not realize that. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. How about if you define the definition for us here?
Yeah. So the problem reads, define the operation, we'll call it like a droplet of water, as A, like droplet, B equals the absolute value of A minus B. What's the value of 2 droplet, 4 droplet, 7? So in case you did not know, the absolute value, that just like makes the value inside of that positive. Like if it's negative, then it's positive. If it's positive, it stays positive. So 4 minus 7 is negative 3, but since it's inside that absolute value, that makes it just positive 3. And then 2 minus 3 is -1, but since it's in like the absolute value, then that just makes it 1. So the answer is 1.
All right, everybody got that? All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and for your recognition and outstanding achievement, we'd like to reward you with a certificate of recognition. And it reads, in recognition of your outstanding achievements as a member of the Middle School West Math Counts team and your incredible victory at the county and state, we recognize you for all that you do here with our Math Counts. And thank you for your description tonight and your ability for us to think a little bit about what goes on in our middle school environments when it comes to math. All right? Daniel. Congratulations. Thank you. Brandon, Anthony. Congratulations. Your explanation. Congratulations. Thank you. I'm going to give this to Mrs. Longborn. She gives this to Mrs. Dombrowski. She'll give Brandon. That takes us down to our third and final recognition of this evening. And I'd like to invite Mr. Palladino, our athletic director, to the podium to share with us a winter athletics recap. And here with us also is a pretty special team. And I'll allow the pleasure of Mr. Palladino to introduce some of their accomplishments throughout the evening. They do like being on the floor. They like being on the mats. So we do have our wrestling team with us here this evening. So, Mr. Palladino, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dr. David Heiser. Before I get to the student athletes who are here, just want to recognize pretty much the entire Boyertown community. Last week, we had our first unified track meet. Our varsity track team, teachers, community members, parents, all came out, and it was a great environment to be in. So much that one of the Special Olympics representative was there. And after the meet, they called and offered us or asked us to host their regional competition. And that was our first meet, which was, we went into that not knowing what to expect. But our kids, our student athletes, our parents, everybody came out and made it just an awesome atmosphere. So I just want to let everybody know that. That meet will happen on May 5th at 4 o'clock in the stadium. So if you're free, come on out. Volunteer your time. Our athletes will be there helping out. Our unified team will be there helping out. Also, they're not going to be competing in that regional event, but they will be there helping out, and it is just an awesome atmosphere. So going on to our winter season, we had participation numbers at Middle School East. We had 54 boys, 38 girls. At West, 46 boys, 42 girls. At the senior high, 145 boys and 100 girls. We had 19 total student athletes earn all division or all conference honors for the Pioneer Athletic Conference. 7 student athletes were named all academic. Numerous student athletes in swimming and wrestling earned spots in the District 1 competitions. Robert Barnett, who's on our wrestling team, was named our Citizen Athlete Award winner for the league. We had 7 winter track athletes earn a trip to the state meet. We're going to bring our winter track athletes in after the spring because right now they're in their spring practice, and we'll recognize them after the spring season. But those athletes who earned a trip to State College for the state meet were Aiden Voth, Taylor Rosen, Jocelyn Wissinger, Harper Glennon, Brianna Stankina, Amelia Malath, and Abigail Hedrick. And then tonight we have, as you can see, we have members of our boys wrestling team here with us. I'll just do a quick recap, and then Coach Haley would get up and speak a little bit. They were the Pioneer Athletic Conference team champions. 3 student athletes qualified for the individual portion of the state tournament. It was Brody Coleman, Beck Babb, and J.D. Heiser. They finished as a team 4th in the PIAA Team Duel Championships. Coach Chris Lloyd was named PA Wrestling AAA Assistant Coach of the Year. And Coach Haley, who's standing behind me, was named the PA Wrestling AAA Coach of the Year. So I'm going to give the mic to Coach Haley to talk about the team a little bit.
Of course, Mr. Palladino didn't say I was going to speak, so I still don't need anything prepared. For those who don't know me, I'm Coach Haley. I'm also a member of the district. I've lived in the district for 25 years. Both of my daughters graduated from Boyertown High School. One is a second grade teacher at Topahaken, and the other one has one day left to become a speech pathologist, graduating with their master's from Moravian. So thank you to Boyertown in the sense of preparing them as well as they did for the next level, which is the college level. On to the kids who are in front of me, and this is just a small portion. Coach, Mr. Palladino was talking about numbers there. Our numbers this year in the high school program alone, and we were basically 9 through 12, but we had over 47 kids, and we kept probably 15 ninth graders down. We would have had 60 boys between the grades 9 through 12 out for the wrestling program. So when you talk about our numbers growing, our numbers are growing astronomically right now. In both of the junior highs, I think we were probably around 30. So as far as those numbers go, the sport is growing, the kids here, the entire community is behind us in the things that we are doing. I never like to take recognition. The boys know that, so I'm going to spend all my time talking about them. The accomplishment that these boys in front of you and the boys that were a member of the program that just accomplished, it is, when I say astronomical, it is astronomical. And I was fortunate after we won the District 1 title, somebody said to me, I had an interview and they said, when did this start? And I said, when we left this gym a year ago. And the guy looked at me and he said, what? I said, when we left this gym a year ago, we took third in the district. We had said after that day, our sights are set on Hershey. Our sights are set on being a top 4 team in the state. When we went into the season, and all of our kids know, we set extremely lofty goals. And we have conversation about it, and we come together and we're like, how many pins do we want? How many of these do we want? And we set high goals. This year, this team achieved every one of those goals. And whenever I say taking this team to top 4 in the state of Pennsylvania, and people look and say, how big of an accomplishment is that? Let me say this. There was not one returning state qualifier. Not one kid on this team qualified for the state tournament previously. There was a couple kids who had been to regionals, and I tell you the work that they put in from March of last year, I say March of last year, all the way through the season. And again, the things that we do with these kids during practice, we're very motivational, all of those types of things. But I will tell you right now, there's not a program that I would want to be associated with more. The kids that come into this program, the support that we have from the parents and the support that we have from the community is unbelievable. Our new superintendent, Mr. David Heiser, Dr. David Heiser, had a chance to come down and visit our facility at the BTC. Again, we have things that are going on right now that continue to build this program. So if we look at our season this year, and just to recap it, I know Mr. Palladino did, being District 1 duals champs, incredible. Going out to, we used to call it Hershey, but PIAA put us at Altoona. But going out there and finishing top 4 in the state, these kids deserve everything that they have. In addition to that, as I heard the math counts team, and by the way, you just blew some of my kids' minds, okay? Don't worry, and they're juniors and seniors, but it's okay. But when I say that, these kids, almost every one of them are going to be going to college. If they're not, they're looking at, community colleges and stuff like that. So again, I think the mix of the athletics and the academics, and the one thing that I will tell you, 47 kids on a roster. Do you remember how many ineligible kids? 0. 0 academic. Now, there are a few that were close sometimes, but when I look at that, I tell you, because I'm a teacher, 31st year in my teaching profession, I look and I say, we try to create the student athlete. And these kids here who are in front of you are the epitome of what student athletes are. They compete on the mat. They find time to organize themselves and make sure their schoolwork is done. And as far as the accomplishments on the mat, that's great. Their accomplishments in school. But the nice thing that I would say is I like these guys in the sense they're going to be productive members of society, and they know how to work hard to achieve certain goals. So whenever I say, if you see these guys, congratulate them. I thank you for having us here tonight. And again, these guys have achieved something incredible. And I lost. I have to get another tattoo. Okay, so I'm working on adding to it. It started back in 2016 when we had Jordan Wood and a couple of those other ones who were on the team when we took second in the state. They know how I feel about tattoos. Sorry if I offend anybody, but I'm not a big fan of them. So I made a bet. I lost a bet, so I got one there. And I said to these guys, really, they're going to take top 4 in the state? No way that's going to happen. I'm in good shape. They took top 4 in the state, so I have to work on getting that, and I will probably have it by the summer. But again, my heart goes into these guys. They believe in us. We believe in them. So I thank you tonight for recognizing the team, recognizing the boys who've been a part of that. So other than that, thank you, boys. You did a great job.
Well, Coach Haley and the team, congratulations. Well deserved, and we're glad to have you here this evening to be able to recognize you in person. And Coach Haley, on your award as the Coach of the Year in AAA, and as Pennsylvania being the predominant state in the country when it comes to wrestling, and you standing out as a 4th place team in the state really does say a lot. As Coach Haley said, that recognition is very profound. So congratulations, and we really wish you well into next season. I'm sure you're back on the mats already preparing. All right, thank you.
Could each one introduce themselves to the board? Say who you are, stand up and say who you are.
Gentlemen, why don't we do that? And why don't you tell them your weight class that you competed in?
You know that's not even close to what they
Well, we know that. Why don't we start down there on the end?
My name is Michael Palmero and I wrestle with 285.
My name is JD Heiser. I wrestle 172. My name is Brody Coleman. I wrestle 121.
My name is Carter Stouts. I wrestled 160.
My name is Brady Tobias. I wrestle 121.
My name is Cole Fogel. I wrestled 147.
My name is Liam Lemon. I wrestle 133.
My name is Jake Stanchek. I wrestle 107.
My name is Owen Dykey. I wrestle 152 pounds.
My name is Caleb Jim and I wrestle 215.
My name is Bowden Witt, and I wrestle 114.
My name is Shane Stanky and I wrestle 145.
Coach, I don't know. I saw a bunch of creaky knees getting up there a little bit. Congratulations, everybody.
They're not even close to that yet.
Congratulations. And thanks for coming out tonight. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thanks for joining us. I think I might need a little blonde hair after this. Congratulations. That takes us down to item number 4, our student representative report. And I welcome Liliana and Allison to report out on some of the highlights from our school community.
All right. Good evening, everyone, board members and meeting attendees. As we are inching closer to the end of the year, we would like to provide you with some highlights in the district for the month of April. This month's elementary highlight will feature Washington Elementary.
As a fun way to kick off spring break, many students in the Bash Spanish department got to go on a trip to Costa Rica to learn about culture and visit the wonderful places the tropical nation had to offer. Around the same time, some of the Bash music department rolled on down to D.C. to perform. We hope they loved the capital and had an amazing performance, and we hope the students in Costa Rica had sunny days and little turbulence.
On April 16th, freshmen at Bash got to experience a day full of activities, water ice, movies, etc., pumping them up for the start of their high school careers. We hope that the freshmen and the members of Link Crew had a blast.
Next, we wanted to bring attention to some stars within Bash this past month. 3 members of BCTC who attended the HOSA Healthcare State Competition placed 1st through 3rd. Congrats to Emma Dolmarzalski, Isabella Cressman, and Angelina Lair. Additionally, congratulations to Isabel Sandoval for her receipt of the Penn HOSA Scholarship. Their dedication to healthcare should be recognized and applauded. And a special congrats to the 11 seniors who were recognized for their good citizenship by Senator Pennycook.
The week of April 7th was Bash Culture Week, in which each day students and teachers had the opportunity to dress up in a different theme to show unique spirit and culture. Everyone had a lot of fun, especially on the Students Dress Like Teachers Day. There were some interesting outfits, to say the least.
On April 24th through 23rd, the Youth and Government Club is going to the Capitol Building in Harrisburg to be your legislators for the week. This is the most exciting yearly event for us in YAG, and it's the trip where last year I found my love for the Senate chambers.
Legislators and attorneys have worked tirelessly for this amazing opportunity, and I know everyone is so excited to be there.
This month's elementary highlight, Washington Elementary, has been packed with events. Washington's 3rd and 4th grade chorus performed at Middle School West on April 14th, showcasing their talents at the spring concert for friends and family. The school also celebrated its annual Parade of Champions for cheering on students in Washington's signature style. Special recognition goes to Mrs. Edie Bennett for her leadership of the Bear Challenge. As she approaches retirement, the Washington community thanks her for her dedication. During Read Across America Week, students surpassed the 30,000-minute reading goal by over 11,000 minutes, earning the reward of seeing Principal DiRenzo kiss a pig.
We look forward to bringing you more of Bash's best moments, as well as introducing our new junior representative next month. Have a great evening.
Public comment period number 1, Ms. Savage, budget.
It's hard to go after those student presenters. They were amazing, weren't they? I'm here tonight to continue my advocacy work for adequate public education funding from our state. As we know the story in a nutshell, Pennsylvania ranks near the bottom with regard to share of funding from the state versus local property taxes. A judge has ruled this inadequacy unconstitutional. A bipartisan Basic Education Funding Commission has proposed a way to remedy the situation over several years, and our governor for the 2nd year in a row is proposing annual funding increases to public schools in close alignment with that proposal. For the 2nd year in a row, Boyertown has built that additional $1.5 million into their budget planning, a budget which you will be voting to advance tonight. And hopefully this year, unlike last year, this board will advocate by appealing to our state reps and senators for that funding. Last year, 3 out of our 4 state reps and senators voted against the public ed funding that you are counting on. Tonight, I am here to introduce Casey Deck. Casey works for the Penn Policy Center, part of Pennsylvania Schools Work Coalition, and I believe you all received an email from him. The coalition seeks to bring people together to advocate for Pennsylvania public schools, their students, and the communities they serve. Casey has resources that can make your state advocacy work easier, including a one-pager showing the progress toward filling Boyertown's $13.3 million state funding gap. If I may, I'd like to have Casey hand out these resources to each of you. Is that okay? Right? As I continue to talk, is that all right? Okay, go ahead, Casey, and I'll keep talking. Your policy 011 says that school directors will, quote, collectively and individually advocate earnestly to promote public education as a keystone of democracy and champion public education by engaging members of local, state, and federal legislative bodies. I remind you that no matter how our state legislators and their political parties feel about the proposed state budget, your job is to advocate for the fair funding due to Boyertown. And remember that not advocating for the state funding is not only shortchanging our students, it's also a disservice to our local property taxpayers who are left filling the funding gap. Thank you for listening tonight.
At this time, we're looking for the approval of the April 8th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Second was Jeff.
Mr. Zawada.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Diroff.
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Nyman.
No.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That takes us down to item 7, and this is our discussion and information section. And this section titled Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 131, Berks County Presentation. Recently, I've had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Cliff Kersner and Mr. Donald Conrad, members of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 131, Berks County, along with State Representative David Maloney, to discuss the possibility of the Boyertown Area School District displaying the Prisoners of War Missing in Action flag at our school buildings. This evening, I've invited all three gentlemen to attend this board meeting to share with our board information regarding the POW MIA flag and its recommended visibility within our district. Gentlemen, welcome to the podium.
Good evening, members of the Boyertown Area School District, faculty, fellow community members, NJROTC members. My name's Cliff Kersner, and I'm not going to be wrestling anyone or giving anyone any tests tonight. I'm a member of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 131, Berks County. Both my kids graduated from Boyertown, and I lived in the Boyertown area for many years. I deeply value the principles of honor, remembrance, and patriotism, principles that I believe are shared throughout Boyertown and taught to our students. I'm here to respectfully request that the Boyertown Area School District approve the flying of the POW MIA flag alongside the American flag at all Boyertown area school buildings and the administration buildings, to follow up with a change to the district policy to allow the flying of the POW MIA flag. The POW MIA flag is a powerful, enduring symbol of our nation's commitment to never forget the men and women who were prisoners of war or went missing in action while serving the United States Armed Forces. As of April 10th of this year, there are over 81,000 missing from all wars. It's hard to believe. Over 71,000 from World War II, 7,400 from Korea, 1,573 from Vietnam, 126 from the Cold War, and 6 from Iraq and other wars. From Pennsylvania, in all wars, there are 5,369 are still missing. From Vietnam, Pennsylvania has 90 still missing. I also wanted to mention tonight that Boyertown has 7 veterans on the Vietnam War Memorial Wall down in Washington. 3 of our Berks County brothers are listed as POW MIAs from Vietnam. Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Angstadt, he graduated from Ole School in 1950, and he went missing October 18th, 1966 at the age of 34. Colonel Thomas Dugan graduated from Reading High School in 1951. He went missing on December 13th, 1968 at the age of 35. And Captain David Pennebecker graduated from Conrad Weiser in 1956. He went missing on March 27, 1972 at the age of 33. The black and white flag symbolizing POW MIAs is well known as a solemn reminder of our obligation to always remember the sacrifices made to defend our nation. The flag's history began in 1970 when Mary Huff's husband, who was a Navy pilot, went missing on January 7th of 1970. She had just given birth to her 5th child. She recognized the need for a symbol of America's missing in action and prisoners of war, POW/MIAs. Mrs. Huff contacted Norman Rivkees, who is the vice president of the Annan Flag Company that manufactures flags for all of the United Nations member states. Rivkees and an advertising agency employee, Newt Heisley, designed a flag to represent the missing. Heisley was a former World War II pilot and graphic designer for a New Jersey advertising agency in 1971, and he sketched the future design of the POW/MIA flag. The flag is black. It features a white disc and the silhouette of a bust of a man, dark silhouette, and a guard tower and a watch guard. The letters POW/MIA are in white on either side of a 5-pointed star. Below the disc is a black and white wreath with the motto, "You are not forgotten." Heisley was flying transport planes in World War II in the South Pacific when he thought about being taken prisoner and being forgotten. And he wrote down the phrase, "You are not forgotten." Thanks. POW/MIA flag is the only flag to fly over the White House, other than the flag of the United States. It is displayed at all federal buildings and all United States post offices. It is also law in Pennsylvania that the POW/MIA flag must be flown on all state properties where the United States flag is also flown. This legislation was authored by Representative David Maloney, who's with us this evening. By your approval to fly the POW/MIA flag, you will be joining other local districts and districts across the country that have recognized the importance of this symbol. It offers opportunities to educate students about military history, sacrifice, and civic responsibility. You would be making a statement that in Boyertown, we remember. In Boyertown, we honor those who have not yet returned home. And in Boyertown, we teach our children that remembrance is not just a word, it's an action. I respectfully ask that you consider this proposal seriously and with the reverence it deserves. The act of flying this flag would cost very little, but have a great significance to many in the community. Thank you for your time, service to the community, and commitment to honoring those who served. I'd like to ask Representative Maloney to say a few words, if you would.
Thanks, Cliff. What you said here tonight, I think, was so straightforward, so simple and to the point. I also heard tonight that you don't bet against Boyertown. For us who are Boyertown grads and know what kind of foundational support and feeder programs, as we heard tonight on many different occasions, I'm honored to be a part of this initiative. I was honored to be a part to create this law, and I'm honored to know that my alma mater would be considering this to really not forget those who are the reason we are here, those who have given the ultimate sacrifice and deserve that recognition. So I did bring flags that I would provide a flag for every school building, whatever would be necessary, and hope to be able to go forward with anything that the school district needs. I appreciate the time here tonight, and I know it's difficult to see me. I'm on a statewide sportsman's listening tour, and I thought it would be appropriate after having a photo op today that we would continue that for this evening. So I really appreciate it. I want to thank you, all the board members, knowing what it's like sitting on that side and the challenges that we face and the recognition that we really deserve when good intentions are put forward. So thank you so much. This would be a box of flags.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your service.
Any questions that the board has for our presenters this evening with regard to this recommendation? You will find down in our itemized agenda that there is a motion for this, and we will get to that very shortly. Thank you, gentlemen.
Treasurer's report.
Good evening. Tonight, I will be presenting to you highlights from the March 2025 Treasurer's Report. For local revenue, delinquent tax collection was $184,331.61. Earned income tax was $805,646.93, and transfer tax collection was $97,935.10. For state revenue, special education subsidy received was $768,815. Our pre-K count subsidy was $48,375. And for pupil transportation was $423,665. Also, retirement subsidy was $2,289,130.61. And in the category for expenditures, salaries, benefits, and professional services accounted for 75% of our total expenditures for the month of March. And that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
At this time, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Mr. Zawada.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff.
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Nyman.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Takes us down to the superintendent's report and its itemized agenda. We're going to begin with item A, POW MIA flag. And we are recommending approval of the display of the POW MIA flag to be flown at all Boyertown Area School District buildings effective tomorrow, April 23rd, and begin the amendment process of policy 807 to reflect language of this flag's display.
So out of seconds.
Mr. Zawada.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff.
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Nyman.
By all means, yes.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
With your approval this evening, we will begin flying the POW MIA flag tomorrow morning at our high school. There will be a small ceremony beginning roughly 7:45. We invite all board members, community members, certainly members that were here this evening to present, and we've put some other invitations out as well. Our ceremony will last approximately 15 minutes. We will have the NJROTC that are here that aren't on a trip. They have a scheduled trip for tomorrow, but those that will be here will help raise our flags with some commentary. So I thank you, gentlemen, for your efforts in bringing this to Boyertown, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more. For bringing this up, this is long overdue. This is something that should have happened years ago. My graduating class of high school, 1968, sent a lot of people over there. I was in the Philadelphia area, so we were a go. You graduated high school, you went into service, and you went to Vietnam. So,
Did you serve?
I did not. I was one of the ones that went to college, and when I got out in '72 is when they were doing the drawdown. So otherwise, My number was 36. So
Mine was
I was
56.
on my way over.
Mine was 56.
52, yeah. I was 36. It was a definite go.
Mine was 16, and I was already there.
Yeah. I was going to say, they got you before you walked out the door. But I was in the Kensington area too, so once again, high density area, everybody. But long overdue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, gentlemen. Under item B, 2023-2024 audited financial statements. We are recommending Board of Directors accept the 2023-24 audited financial statements as presented at our previous meeting.
Zawada moves.
I'll second.
Mr. Zawada.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff.
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Nyman.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under item C, 2025-2026 proposed final general fund budget. Administration recommends the Board of School Directors accept the accept the proposed final general fund budget for the 2025-2026 year as presented.
Zawada moves.
I'll second. Okay. Your mic.
Sorry. The raise that we're giving for support staff, I know that we're doing investigations on that. I understand that. If the time comes and we have all our information and we find we may need a little bit more than what has been allocated, will there be additional funds in the budget for that? Or will we be stuck with what we put in here?
Currently, there is the dollar per hour increase built into the proposed budget.
Right.
The board could always pass another resolution later throughout the year after the HR department finishes that study and decide to give increases, and we as an administration would share how that increase would be supported from a revenue perspective.
Okay, fine. And then the other question was, I'm not sure, I'm just kind of following up on this. So the budget included 2 new teachers. Is that correct? Did I understand that right at the last meeting? Because
There's a total of 13.5 new
right, I know,
professional
but there were 2
positions.
that weren't really designated for anywhere. Was that for full-day kindergarten,
There
or
were-
was that for anywhere we need
Correct. There
them?
was 2 full-day kindergarten positions built in to start building the millage to support that program should the district school board approve moving forward with that program.
Okay, so if we find we need them somewhere else, we could use it for that as well, if
could-
that came up. I'm just getting it out there.
Yep.
No big deal. All right, thank you.
Good.
Okay, question on that money that's being put aside for the full-time kindergarten. Where's that going to be put? And how are we going to know it's going to be safely tucked there to eventually support the full-time kindergarten whenever we would go forward with that?
It would be designated as part of assigned fund balance for that specific purpose.
But that doesn't mean you can't go in and use it for something.
The board would have to make a decision to allow it to be uncommitted for that purpose.
Because that concerns me. Putting that money in there, anybody's going to go in and take it and use it for whatever.
I can tell you that won't happen while I am here.
Okay, my second question is, I'm not sure how much is left in the 24-25 school year that would go into capital projects or whatever, but what do we have built into this year, the 25-26 school year, to go into the capital funds?
Currently, there's $300,000 built to go back into capital reserve to replenish that.
Do you know
In the
how-
25-26 budget, proposed budget.
Do you know how much was in for 24-25?
I can pull that information and get back to you.
Because it's my understanding from 23 to 24, 6 million was put into the capital funds project.
That is correct.
And where did that money come from?
That money came from not spending up to the level that we had budgeted for and having higher than expected revenue.
So that's taxpayer dollars being put into the capital funds to be used accordingly, correct?
The excess was, yes, put into capital reserve for capital project purposes. If you don't put money aside into a capital reserve fund, you have no other option to fix your buildings or properly maintain them without doing a bond or a debt offering.
I get that, but my point being, that is taxpayer money that is being used eventually probably for turf fields.
It would be used for any capital projects that the board so approves.
But it was said at one point that there is no tax money being used for turf fields, and that is incorrect.
That's not what was said. What was said was that we were not raising taxes for turf fields.
But we just raised taxes where we didn't need to the tune of $6 million, that people out there who cannot afford things, and $6 million, that could have went back to taxpayers. I'm being asked by people in the community, Tulpehocken gives back. Why can't we?
That's the next thing on the list. After this.
No, Tulpehocken gives back in the tax thing. It's not, they don't tax their people like we are.
The next item is property tax rebate.
You don't get it.
I guess I don't. Yeah, Mr. O.
Okay, maybe I'm not looking at this right, but I'm having trouble finding the assigned fund balance and the unassigned fund balance. How much is that each?
That was in the most recent presentation done at the committee of the whole meeting. There was one of the slides had all of that information in it. As of June 30th, 2024, the non-spendable fund balance was $141,776. Committed fund balance was $4,100,000. Assigned was $14 million, and unassigned was $10,908,814.
Which account is the turf money coming out of?
That is your general fund balances. This is not coming out of the general fund. It would be coming out of the capital projects funds.
Capital projects. And how much is in there?
I can get that information for you. Those balances have been shared in the board weeklies as an attachment.
I understand that, but I get very confused.
Don't quote me, but I think it was around 31 million.
I saw 29.
29?
29, so the turf will come out of there. And is that where the Boyertown Elementary project is coming out?
That would be coming out of the capital projects pending board approval, correct?
So that's 24 million. So we have 5 million left. And the money that we're going to be shortfall for this budget is coming out of where?
The general fund balance.
And how much are we going to be short, do you think?
If you go back to the most recent presentation, our estimated fund balance as of June 30th, 2025, our unassigned is expected to drop from 14 million to 12,724,000. So roughly a 1.8 million.
Okay, do we have anything in there at all, or do we think anything about the Department of Ed, the Federal Department of Ed, closing down and the money going to the state? That scares me. Did we give any consideration to that?
The federal dollars that we receive, I don't believe will be impacted by the elimination of the Department of Ed. They are part of another portion of the U.S. Code.
Yeah, it'll go to the state, and then we could be in big trouble,
I don't anticipate that happening.
because Boyertown usually gets last. These numbers aren't coming out right. Thank you.
What percentage, Ms. Denicola, are we supposed to keep in our capital funds project account?
They recommend 2 to 3% of what the rebuilding costs would be.
And that would be roughly what?
I can share that out with you. We provided that a number of months ago. I can reshare that.
Yeah, Ms. Brophy.
2 to 3%, we talking, would you say that's like 14 million, 15 million, somewhere around there? Just a guess. Hazard a guess, okay. First of all, I want to thank Dr. David Heiser and Ms. Stenicola for putting together this budget. There's a lot of thought, a lot of time, effort, and work went into it. And I do thank you guys for that. I know it's a lot of time consuming and strenuous, to say the least. To me, budgets have to be two things. They've got to be realistic and they've got to be sustainable. I'm not going to go into realistic because year by year, you can always say it is. Sustainable is another issue to me. This budget, let me just start with the general fund. This year, you're starting with a $2 million hole, approximately. That's saying, Ms. Stenicola, is that taking into account, or are you anticipating all of the money that Governor Shapiro is saying he's going to get us extra? Or is that, will that deficit get bigger?
We have built into the budget what the governor has proposed.
Right.
Should those numbers not come to fruition, the increase that's currently budgeted in is approximately $1.1 million.
So that hole could become $3.1 million instead of $2 million. Would that be a fair assumption on my part?
Correct.
Okay. I'm very well aware of how you use general funds. I understand that even in a $3 million hole, you use the general fund to plug short-term spikes in your spending. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that's one thing you should do. However, when you do that, I'd be looking to where you're moving to fix that hole in the next year. I don't see that. In fact, I see absolutely the opposite. As we go forward, this spike is going to get higher. The board has introduced all-day kindergarten for next year, or for next year or the next couple of years, and we're already starting to fund that by the extra spots. So the deficit won't go down, the deficit will only get bigger. And I know we have about $9 or $10 million in the general fund. That won't last long. That's not my worst fear, is I have not seen a process in this board. Things come into this room, and all of a sudden, we're moving on them. Ms. Stenicola, do we have a 5- and 10-year plan, a forward-looking spending plan?
We do, and we are currently, as you are aware of, working through strategic planning for the district, which will guide the how that plan moves forward.
Do we follow it up to this point?
The board has followed, yes. There are annual budgets that are built into those projections, correct?
So turf fields were in our 5-year budget, and we were following that along.
The 5-year budget did not include capital projects. That is part of the strategic planning that is currently being done to
that's fine. That's fair.
build those plans out.
So, but it came in without being part of any of our forward forecasting projects. Is all-day kindergarten part of our 5-year project? 5-year projections, or did that just come in?
That has not been part of the other plans.
So my point is, and I might be being a little brutal with this, but my point is that things come into this room, we get 5 board members to say they like the idea, and you're mandated. So this isn't your fault. You're mandated to go follow that and start bringing those issues in. And what concerns me is a couple other things that have come up. We've had some board members ask for smaller class sizes. So is that going to be mandated to the district? And all of a sudden we got to do that and find money for that. Languages in middle school, that's been brought up. Since there's no process, I have to assume that it can come in one day and 2 weeks later we can be working on it. It's not fair to you guys, for one, because it's a constant mandates coming into you. So therefore, no matter what budget you give me, unless we get some sort of process how we're going to bring things in, it's not sustainable. I'll use that word. So now let me go to the capital fund. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me, Mr. Nicole, I think there was $29 million in the capital fund. You then, in a presentation a couple weeks ago, came up with about $2 million of capital improvements we're going to do. That's about, I'm taking it that's part of that $29 million. So that would bring us down to $27 million. $15 million for Boyertown Elementary, which it's necessary. That brings us down to $12 million. $8 million for turf fields, brings us to $4 million. And that's not including what capital work we're going to have to do if you bring in all-day kindergarten, because we don't have rooms for that. So therefore, there goes the capital budget. So we go from being pretty good on a general fund, we go from being pretty good on a capital budget to going down to where not really good on anything. So the state, let's go see what the capital budget for a minute. The state sits there and says we should keep what, 3 to 4% in the capital funds? Is what's the reasoning for that?
The state does not say that.
No, they recommend.
The PASBO, the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials, and other state-supported state organizations that support education recommend from 2 to 4%.
Okay, so a fiscally responsible organization, would they follow that guidance or would they ignore it?
They would follow that, Mr. Brophy, but I can tell you that prior to me being here, there was many years where it was not followed.
I understand that, and that's my point. We're going back. So here's the three, I'm going to say the three paths you're offering me. One is to be fiduciary or fiscally irresponsible and fiduciarily negligent and continue on our path and take us down to zero funds. Push off the school repairs on Boyertown Elementary, which we've seen how that works when we do it. So that's not a path that we go. Or postpone turf fields, which this board has adamantly refused to talk about. So as we move forward, I see a financial pitfall coming this way, and even taxing to the maximum amount may not be enough to get us out of that. So it's, in saying that, you can understand my I'm not very much in favor of the budget, so that's pretty clear, I think. But what I would like to hear is from board leadership, Mr. Zawada, Mr. Panarella, why should I approve this budget? What in it is, what in their view makes this the best thing for the people, the students of the Boyertown Area School District?
Well,
you guys are leadership.
I'll tell you right now, I'll make some corrections for you. One, the board hasn't voted to give us kindergarten. It's just
there.
talked about looking into it, right? So that hasn't passed. We haven't had the meeting where they come back with all the information for it, where they tell us that schools will have to be changed around or they'll have to be added to. There's nothing that came back. So there's no guarantee that would ever get voted for. So you really can't put it in there. And if it did, it would be 3 years from now or 2.5 years from now.
It's on the table.
What does it have to do with the budget right now?
You're already creating positions in the budget to support that. So that tells me that it's on the table and it's going forward. This isn't just we're thinking about doing it. This is we're going to do it. So let's not
That's your
obfuscate.
interpretation.
No,
That's fine.
that's
No, that's not fact.
So then take the two positions out of the budget for kindergarten as we move forward.
Didn't you say you wanted to get
Fiscally responsible?
Pardon?
Didn't you want to say you want to be fiscally responsible? Putting in those 2 teachers possibly was just looking forward. That money can be rolled back directly if the board shoots it down back to the general fund.
Well, for one, if we don't move forward with kindergarten, you'd have those 2 teachers. People have been, I'm sure you've seen emails where people are complaining about the classroom sizes. That will lower that.
Then we address that when it comes up. You don't address it here, then say, well, if this doesn't work, then we'll just move it over here. That's not fiscal responsibility, Mr. Zawada. That's, what's the right word? I can't think of the right word.
But just to go back and clarify something else. If you were correct with the math that we ended up falling another $1 million in the hole, which would put our general fund at $11 million, the state only allows you to hold, 8% of your full budget? That's $12 million. So we're right there. We're right where we're supposed to be.
You're missing the point.
No, I'm saying that is where you're supposed to be.
Nothing left.
Why?
as we keep going through this, you're not doing anything to plug the deficit spending is gonna continue. This isn't a one-year blip, this is a continual.
Well, actually,
So-
it is
so-
for the teachers, it's building in the 13 new teachers. Like, you're adding it into the budget, so now it's in the budget. You don't have to continually raise your taxes to pay for what you already raised, because it's already raised, it's already built in to the millage.
I don't understand that. If you're
You
gonna,
should.
If you're gonna hire 9 more teachers, that's more, $1.6 million.
Well, that's built into that 3% increase. That's what that's for. That increase is built into the millage.
Loaves and fishes now, 3% is gonna cover everything?
Originally, when this was brought up to 3% was because of the teacher's contract.
Correct. That's
Okay.
the present level of teachers.
And
You're adding 9 more
we've stayed at that.
You're adding
With the
9
under,
more teachers.
We
So-
have
We
had
haven't
other
added anything
revenue
yet.
increases as well. It's not just the 3% tax
But
increase.
so is the teacher's
We have,
contract at the same time. So we're trying to obfuscate at this point. We're going to continue in this hole, and we're gonna start to add to this hole. All I'm asking is, what is the board leadership position, and how they going to move forward so that we don't fall farther and farther in this hole, or how they gonna convince us that it's not going to happen?
we do agree that elementary school needs to be fixed. It should have been fixed 15 years ago. Okay? We do not know where the numbers are coming in at turf. They have not been put out for bid yet. Okay? There was this.
We're given an $8 million number. Mr. Zawada, I've got to go on the numbers I was given at the presentations here. One was 15 million for the building, one was 8 million for the turf. That is what I have to work with, and that's what I'm going to work with.
With both fields, and we still didn't even decide whether or not to go with both fields.
It
Okay?
doesn't matter. I'm
And
looking
then
at
and then
projections.
it was brought up that, well, what about other things? Where's the other money
So you're
coming
gonna-
from?
So you're gonna take it off the table, and we're not gonna, and it's
No.
gonna?
well, at
Oh,
this
then it's
point,
still there.
at this point, the only thing on motion on the floor is to vote on the proposed general fund budget for 2025-26.
I will be a no vote, and I'm here expressing why I'm going to be a no vote. And I-
So you're not for hiring more teachers? You don't want more teachers? Is that what you're saying? Because you have to raise the taxes to pay for
You
these
wanna hire
teachers.
9 teachers for kindergarten, you're saying we may or may not have.
No, we're hiring 13.
We are not saying we're hiring
Okay.
9 teachers. When we say we have 2 full-day kindergarten
Right.
positions built into the budget,
Yeah.
that means we're starting to build in the millage to support hiring of those positions should the board approve full-day kindergarten in the future.
So we're-
It does not mean that we will be hiring those
So
positions
we're
if
hiring
the
on a
program.
supposition, that's not a budgetary process.
So let's say,
So where
in
am
a
I?
world that I could just erase
So-
that.
so I want
Well,
more-
listen,
No, well,
I'm
no, you
erasing
said-
it,
you
we're
just
down
said
to
I want
11
more-
teachers.
I don't want more
Would you have
teachers.
voted for it then?
For what?
Would you have voted for the budget if we removed those 2 teachers?
Not with all these things sitting out
What
here
other
that you guys
things?
are sitting on.
What things are we sitting on?
A building, turf fields, all-day kindergarten.
Are you saying that we should raise the taxes higher than 3%? I don't know where you're going with this.
No, you're gonna have to.
So you want to raise the taxes
No,
higher?
no, I want to take these things out and get
So,
back to a
so
reasonable,
are
and
you
start
gonna,
using
are
a
you then going to, you don't want to remove the teachers.
Mr. Panarello, do you understand?
You just
what
shut it
a
off.
5-year
You just shut off your thing.
Do you understand what a 5-year look ahead?
That's what we're supposed to be doing
process
right now. That's what the whole thing is, to push us forward.
Mr. Denicola, we're using a 5-year look ahead plan, or are we bringing it in as we bring it up? In other words, 5 years ago, did we talk about turf fields and all-day kindergarten? I'm pretty sure we talked about Boyertown Elementary getting work done. So that, I'm not disputing that. But I am disputing the fact that we have no process. It's whatever the board decides on that day, that week, and now let's move it into the budget. Let's forget about everything else that we're gonna do, and we're just gonna do this and move everything else down.
So 5 years ago, you knew about the elementary school, and you were on the board.
Did nothing.
And did nothing, which probably cost us about another $5 million.
I did nothing, Mr.
in a
Bennett.
Did
budget.
you? Did you bring it forward?
Did you bring it forward to be run?
We're not going to beat a dead horse here.
No.
All right. So let's get moving.
Let's go with this. We can have that talk some other time.
This will be the roll call vote to approve the proposed final general fund budget for 2025-26 that includes a 3% tax increase. Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
No.
Ms. Deeroff,
No, it's too much.
Mrs. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
No.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Takes us to item D, 2025-26 property tax rental rebate resolution. We are recommending, administration recommends to the Board of Directors to approve the 25-26 property tax rental rebate resolution as presented.
I'll second.
Mr. Zawada.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff.
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Nyman.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Takes us to item E, CHA/Dewey agreement for the professional services for the Boyertown Elementary School HVAC and roof replacement project. Administration recommends the approval of the CHA/Dewey agreement for professional services for Boyertown Elementary HVAC and roof replacement project as presented.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Ms. Diamond.
I will vote for this, but I am still, and I would like to make a motion that I am under, I don't know how to say it, that Mr. Shield is not qualified to be in charge of this. He has no qualifications for it. I'm telling you, it's gonna come back and it's gonna bite us in the butt. So I would like to make a motion that I'll approve this, but with that being part of the minutes, because if I don't have it as part of the minutes, it never happened.
Are you trying to amend the motion to make it contingent upon Mr. Shields having no involvement in this, in the project?
No, I'm making a motion that I want it on record that I am for the project, but against Mr. Shield being, I don't know, what did we call that, Mr. Brophy?
Clerk of the Works.
Clerk of the Works. He's not qualified for that. So I just want to be on record because if it's not in the minutes, it didn't happen, correct?
Well, if it's not in the minutes, it doesn't constitute the official action, but I'm not understanding your comment because it's not an action. If you were making the motion contingent upon Mr. Shield not acting in the capacity as Clerk of the Works, I would understand it. You just don't make a motion and just have a comment.
At previous thing, because I vote no on the minutes because it's not detailed enough, they said I have to make sure it's detailed. So how do I get it detailed that I am for getting Boyertown Elementary done, but I'm against Mr. Shield being the Clerk of the Works for it?
Who will be doing the minutes?
My secretary.
You will?
My secretary will do, yes.
Okay. If that comment just gets into the minutes and ultimately gets approved, that's how it gets done under the circumstances. So the rest of the board will have to agree to include that in the minutes.
Would that change the vote if he's a part of it then? What does
No,
that
no,
mean?
no. I think she's saying she doesn't want to make a change to the motion. She wants to support the motion as presented, but she would like the minutes to reflect her concerns about Mr. Shields' qualifications to act in that capacity. And all I'm saying is that can those minutes be agreed to be presented in that fashion, and ultimately the board would vote on the minutes.
Correct, thank you.
Is that
normal?
something that can be done?
Is that normal? You tell me.
Pardon
Is
me?
that normal? Is that normal? Because I mean, it is. It's on film for the last 4 minutes.
Don't ask me to make a comment of whether Boyertown's actions are
Yeah,
normal.
I don't want to set
Okay.
another precedence here. But
Okay.
I mean, it's been on film for the last 3 minutes. Her talking about it. I mean, that's
Yeah,
record
I
enough
mean,
for
the
me.
film is not the appropriate record. So the issue is, you have a board member who's making a request specifically to have that comment included as part of the minutes, and I'm just saying, neither I nor you at this point in time can answer that question. if it gets into the draft minutes, the board will vote on it at that time.
That's all I'm asking for, is that it's part, excuse me, part of the minutes, so that later on, when something happens, I'm covered.
I'm not going to give you a normal or not normal answer. Okay. It certainly is not typical for the actions that we have taken in the past.
Are we to
but
take a vote now on whether or not she could add the excess to the minutes? Is that what we're about to vote on?
No, all you're voting on is her vote, but she's making it clear that she would like to have it noted, her comment when she's making the vote, that she has concerns about Mr. Shield. That's what she's saying.
Okay. So who's that up to?
Pardon me?
Is that up to me to add her minutes? I don't get it.
Well,
What do we have to do as a board to make
well,
it happen or not?
ultimately, if it gets recorded in the draft minutes as such, that will be brought to the board in the future for an approval of those minutes.
Okay.
I don't write the minutes, so whoever writes the minutes, if they include that comment in there, the board will, at that point, vote it in or vote it out.
Okay.
I would ask that the board direct administration as to the direction they want. That is not something that I believe the secretary nor the taker of the minutes should be required to decide upon.
Okay, that,
So
I think let's go and get the votes on this, and then I think after that, then there could be an issue of whether the board, we're in the process of polling the vote for the project as presented.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Zawada?
Yes.
Mr. Brophy?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff?
No.
Mrs. Kratz?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove?
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove?
Yes.
Mr. Pinarello?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And related to this issue, is there direction on the part of the board to note Ms. Nyman's concerns to be included in the draft minutes that will ultimately be voted upon in this matter?
Not for me, no. I don't think it affects the vote, so it's pointless.
Okay, I'm just saying, is there a motion
giving
and a
you my-
second?
my
Yeah,
opinion.
okay, understood.
I'll make the motion to have it part of the minutes.
I'll second.
So it's not a motion to make it, at this point, we're not voting on the minutes. I think at this point in time, we're directing the secretary to prepare the minutes with that being included, and then at a future meeting, you'll be voting on the entire minutes, because at this point in time, we're not addressing the entire minutes of the meeting. Are you comfortable with making the motion in that fashion? The motion to direct the board secretary to prepare minutes reflecting your comments and concerns about Mr. Shield acting in that capacity.
Yes.
And Ms. Deeroff, are you comfortable with your second in that?
Yes, he does not agree.
Okay. Go around the room and see if there's yeses or nos. A yes would agree that the secretary will include that in the draft minutes. It doesn't mean that the minutes get ultimately approved that way.
Mr. Zawada?
No.
Mr. Brophy?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff?
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
No.
Mr. Brad Updegrove?
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove?
No.
Mr. Pinarello?
No.
Motion carries.
Takes us to all-day kindergarten proposal. Administration is requesting approval of the board for the administration to move forward with the planning for a proposed full-day kindergarten program as presented.
I move.
Second.
I would like to see all options explored, meaning that there would still be a half-day options for a half-day option for families that would prefer that. Would that be part of the planning? Like, would we be investigating all possibilities?
Yeah, that would be something that we would bring to the board. How functional and how simple it would be to do inclusive of a full day program, we're unsure at this point in time, but that would have to be something that we include in the planning processes.
Okay, I was
to
researching
report
some
back.
other districts, and there are a lot that have a choice. Near Pittsburgh, where I'm from, a lot of districts have something called Kindergarten Plus. It can be morning, it can be afternoon. It's offered through the same provider that does the before care and the after care. Parents can enroll their children for a daily fee. They can choose 1 day, they can choose 5 days. There's a lot of flexibility. These school districts are very high achieving, in the top 10 of the state. So I just would like everything to be looked at.
We would certainly look at all those options, present back to you financial pieces to that as well, obviously with many variations of a program as such. The more options you give, the more transportation needs, the more differentiation of staffing needs are required inside of that. So we will try to explore all options for you as a board to bring a multiple set of recommendations and things that were explored as we continue on this process.
Okay.
So, as far as the expense that we will take on to investigate full-day kindergarten, is that mostly time, or are we, I know we're doing the demographic study, I understand that, but
Right.
what other expenses do you foresee?
So one of the things I do foresee, if the board were to approve the continuation of the planning, I would highly recommend to the board that it work on a targeted feasibility study. So putting together a request for a proposal for what our goal is in hosting an all-day, inclusive of possible half-day options and things of that nature, to find out what can our facilities offer in that scope. We investigated that to a certain extent in the broad planning. Mr. Stout's team did a wonderful job. A lot of these things, as you've heard earlier tonight, come down to funding and come down to facilities and whether or not we can host those inside of the buildings that operate now, in addition to maintaining our families in the schools to which they reside.
Right.
All becomes the necessary things. A targeted feasibility study, we would ask then through the proposal to deliver possibly 3 options as to how could we host the types of things that we're seeking, and whether it's architectural firms, construction management firms would investigate our facilities, but really targeted on that kindergarten program to make suggestions back to the board as to how can that be operationalized.
Okay. I actually asked around the community about this because I'm not really for this initially. I'm more for smaller class sizes, and in my research, I'm finding that that has more of a pronounced impact on student achievement at those lower levels than full-day kindergarten, but we're at the beginning of the research. So that's what I'm finding with that. So I'm kind of in agreement with offering, if it gets to that, because I also understand this is in committee up in Harrisburg to require full-day kindergarten, which is another reason why we need to somewhat prepare. Hopefully, they're going to fund it with the requirement, but depending on what they do there, it's probably good to be ready for that. The other thing was, the cost of, there was one other thing. Just give me a minute to read my notes here. I can't even read my own writing. Okay. So I was talking, so the building space and all that reassignment and all that, the funding or the extra money that will take as well was another thing I was concerned about. So that was it.
Mrs. Nyman?
Okay, after the presentation, Mr. Stout, thank you so much. My phone was off the hook. Everybody that was talking to me is definitely, no way do they want 5th and 6th grade and 7th and 8th at different middle schools. They do not want modulars. I've had several people that have written me that said, keep it as half-day program, because that's what we've had. It's working. So I'm concerned. I was in modulars when I went to high school. I don't remember if my son was in modulars or not, but we've had modulars all around. We've had modulars at elementaries. It's a fiasco. It's not a conducive environment for our children to learn. Not at all. You're going in and out of the cold, the rain, the snow. So if that's what you're planning, my vote will be a no.
And thank you for your offering that. You know, I think where we're at right now is not suggesting any options at this point. You know, part of a targeted feasibility study would look to seek out the many options and varieties to which we may be able to explore. I agree with you, Mrs. Nyman. Portables, detached portables would not be something that I would bring as superintendent to you in this day and age as for you to explore. Those would be attached classrooms that would be connected to the building, most especially for the safeguard, not only just the weather themselves, but for all the other security protocols that we are mandated now to maintain, and certainly not something I would ever put a student in today's educational system in. So I think we're at such the early stages. This motion this evening is meant to, do you want us to explore this further and allowing us to engage, probably yes, in some outside services for some professional assistance that go well beyond the scope of what we have here. Certainly we can count seats, we can count heads, we can look at classrooms, but a variety of different architectural features that we may not even be thinking of. What are some of the things that meet or don't meet in code, and the different variations of possibilities when working with townships when it comes to other things, if there is any alterations that need to be made with buildings, or simply just engaging that building and maybe some ADA compliances that may need to be engaged and initiated because of acting on those buildings. So we have more questions than we do answers at this point, and I think it's an opportunity to dig in a lot deeper to figure out possibilities. You know, as an administration, we're charged with bringing to you opportunities and a vision for the future of not only the here and now, but as Mr. Brophy mentioned, with looking at planning 5 years out and beyond. Hence the reason we're hoping to engage in an enrollment study to look at what our capacity levels will be. What is the projected future of Boyertown School District when it comes to students? So there's a lot of things that I would suggest that have to be looked at, investigated to make decisions at this board level. Part of which is investing back to the students and to this community in terms of figuring out how do we increase our educational opportunities, how do we continue to make that continuous improvement along the way. And this is something that was not only discussed just more recently, has kind of been out there hanging over for the past year, but we've dug in a little bit deeper, and Mr. Stout's team had met collectively numerous times to be able to give you a somewhat teaser of a presentation to suggest, do you want us to go further with this?
Could I recommend that you change the motion then? Because right now it sounds like we're doing it.
No, we're not doing it. Not even close.
When I created this, and this was something that I stated just out loud at our last meeting, I made it pretty broadly and feel like it is about as broad as I can make a motion for the general planning of. It does not commit us to. It moved forward with planning for a proposed full-day kindergarten.
Maybe you could make it as general planning feasibility study proposal to look into? Right now, to me, it sounds like we're going forward with this.
Well, that would be a decision by the board to amend this motion that's put forth.
Mr. Rolfe had her hand up first.
Could you tell me, this is all well and good, we're gonna spend a lot of time and money into continuing to see if this is a possibility. Do we have the space now?
Our estimate would be no, that we
you.
do not have the necessary space.
Thank you.
Okay, how I'm taking this is what you're asking is just to go forward with it, to investigate it. You're not even really asking the board for any funds at this point. Is that correct?
Oh, no, we have to pay this.
Well, as you stated, we have those 2 kindergarten positions in there to build millage. Now, again, the question has come up, if you so choose not to move forward with a kindergarten program, right, that money stays within the general fund and can be repositioned differently and so forth if necessary with regard to it. That's the only, outside of collectively, personnel putting time and energy into those things. Right.
Yes, but I'm saying it's outside of that, which is part of the budget that's been presented.
Right.
I'm not going to go back to that again.
Yep.
You're not asking us to commit any additional funds right now. You're just asking us to say, hey, it's a good idea to go forward and look into this and see if it's a viable option for the school district.
Well, there is one thing hanging, right? That's our enrollment study,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part in part of this.
We've already approved that.
No, you haven't.
Oh, okay.
Right?
If that's right, that's going up under different.
Right? We're still waiting from the board to possibly give me some suggestions as to organizations to bring in. The second would be if the board were to move forward with this, I do project that we would be coming back to the board for some sort of feasibility targeted study to be conducted.
That's fine. What I'm saying is to move forward, the okay to move forward tonight is you're not asking for funds, you're just asking for the go-ahead to go forward. So you would be coming back for funds for approval.
That's correct.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's well within the purview of the administration, yes.
If at all possible too, I would like to see possibly a committee. You already set up a committee, but if possible, of up to 3 board members that might be interested in seeing and working with the current group of people you have invested with Mr. Stout to get involved, if that's at all possible.
I think we can certainly involve board members inside of that committee as we move forward.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff, Mrs. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under item G, Boyertown Area School District Special Education Plan, administration requests the approval of the Boyertown Area School District Special Education Plan as presented.
I'll second.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff. Yes. Mrs. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item H, Guidance 339 Plan. Administration requests the approval of the Guidance 339 Plan as previously presented.
I'll move.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item I, Boyertown Area School District and BABE Memorandum of Understanding regarding employee 2678. Administration recommends the approval of the Boyertown Area School District and Boyertown Area Education Association Memorandum of Understanding regarding employee 2678, as had been presented.
Lyman moves.
Brophy seconds.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under item J, 2025-26 MCIU agreement for student services, and the administration does recommend the approval of the annual renewal of the Montgomery County Intermediate Center agreement for student services for the 25-26 school year as presented.
Lyman moves.
Brophy second.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item K, 2025-26 Berks Career and Technology Center budget. Administration does recommend the approval of the Berks Career and Technology Center 2025-26 proposed budget as presented.
I'll second.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item L, overnight trip. And the administration does recommend the approval of the following overnight trips as listed below. And you do see multiple trips there.
Lyman moves.
I'll second.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item M, second reading approval of the policy 006 meetings. Administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve policy 006 meetings for second reading and approval effective this evening, April 22nd.
Mr. Zawada,
Yes.
Mr. Brophy,
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff,
Yes.
Ms. Kratz,
Yes.
Ms. Nyman,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove,
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under item N, second reading approval of policy 815.1, use of generative artificial intelligence in education. Administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve policy 815.1, use of generative artificial intelligence in education for second reading approval effective, again, this evening, April 22nd.
I'll second. Oh, no.
I still have concerns on the protection of the teachers. When they challenge a student, because there's going to be issues. And, I mean, you say we're going to deal with that later. I'd like to see what those dealings are now before I vote on this.
Yes, so we've been dealing with this for years, right? This has been, artificial intelligence isn't just this year, it's been multiple years, and we do deal with that through current code of conduct. What we plan to do upon hopeful approval of this policy is to engage a committee of teachers to start working on our administrative regs as it relates to a number of different things, some of which includes investigation of code of conduct as it relates to this in teaching and learning, and our professional development plan for teachers across the next multiple years as it relates to AI. inside of that. So there's multiple layers to what we plan to do. We first need a policy in place that we can link to in order to create the administrative regulations. We're hoping to include a couple board members inside of that committee that would meet quarterly throughout the year and would continue to review. We obviously have some work to do on the front end to get these things up and running and moving. So I think all of those things are going to be answered, but the one answer to your question is we've already been dealing with this on multiple levels, and it's handled in varying different types of ways. There is no one way to handle this, just like progressive discipline based on the actions of a student may immediately rise to a whole level 3 versus beginning at a level 1 and moving through a progressive. So depending on the situation and what's occurred, really necessitates how we handle this situation. And the part of it is the learning that goes along with it.
Mr. Zawada.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff. Mrs. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Nyman.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Under item O, Boyertown School District donation list, there are 3 things listed inside of this list, much of which had been reviewed at our previous work session. Again, there is not much in real estate value. Again, we are recommending that the board accept these 3 donations as listed.
I'll second.
Mr. Zawada.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff.
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Nyman.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Administration does recommend the approval of the personnel agenda as presented and listed here this evening.
I'll second.
Mr. Zawada.
Yes.
Mr. Brophy.
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff.
Yes.
Mrs. Kratz.
Yes.
Ms. Nyman.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Brad Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Roger Updegrove.
Yes.
Mr. Panarello.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have public comment period number 2, Ms. Savage, board performance.
This comment period is really, oops, I'm sorry, I'll pick that up. An alert for our community. Something has changed, and not for the good. Over the past 4 to 6 years, the work of Boyertown Board has changed drastically. First, committees were effectively eliminated, and Policy 903, public participation in board meetings, was changed to require anyone wishing to speak in public comment to sign up via email prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the board meeting, thereby dissuading public commenters, especially those with busy lives and those less able to use technology. As the board met less frequently, informative presentations also became less frequent, and less of the meeting content was attached to the meeting agendas for public view, making board business less transparent to our community. In addition, board discussion and deliberation became very sparse, often limited to barbs and bullying remarks and not done very timely. And please don't take my word for it. Board meeting minutes, presentations, and recordings are available going back many years. You can check my assertions for yourself. So this begs the question, if the board is not discussing important topics and all deliberation must happen in public per law, then how are they making informed decisions? And during this time, BASD was quietly languishing. As evidenced by the facilities presentation at the last meeting, Very little has been done to maintain our facilities over the last 6 years in comparison to prior years. Not only have our facilities been deteriorating, but so has the quality of education. I acknowledge that this period I'm speaking of began with the COVID pandemic, which negatively impacted public schools everywhere. But looking at school rankings from Niche, Great Schools, and U.S. News and World Report, Boyertown has not been bouncing back as well as other school districts, including those in our surrounding area. Since Dr. David Heiser has come on board as our new superintendent in January, we have seen a return to frequent and informative presentations, and they are now made available to the public again. And tonight, based on the superintendent telling the board that the way they operate is highly unusual, committees have now been reinstated. Given that board members are required to take training that lays out the job of an effective board very clearly, it begs another question. What has this board been doing for the last 4 to 6 years? Great public schools and great communities are deeply connected. The time for change is overdue. Primary election day is May 20th, and we all have choices. Let's vote to move from stagnation and backsliding to a period of moving Boyertown forward. Thank you.
Board comment period. Mr. Updegrove?
No.
Ms. Nyman?
I want to thank all the students that did come out tonight. It was great seeing them here. Wish they would stay longer. Glad to see that we're going to help out the POWs, MIAs, because that's a great thing. They do a lot for our country, and we should recognize them.
Just quickly, I also enjoyed all the students that were here today and recognizing their accomplishments. And thank you to our board reps for their report.
Ms. Darrow?
I'd like to request the policy committee to look at policy 800 for the official recording board meeting minutes. The way the policy reads now, they only have to be kept 1 year, and I think that's horrible. I don't think that's nearly long enough. I think now everything's digitized. It doesn't take much space or anything, so I think you should check into that policy. So what do I have to do next to get it assigned to the committee?
I believe the superintendent is taking notes right now.
So he's got to assign it to the committee. Thank you.
What we will do is we will bring that to our next committee meeting for discussion among the board. So I would encourage the board to take a look at that policy and come back with thoughts and ideas as to any changes you would want considered.
Thank you.
What policy number was that?
800. It's AR1.
The request for the POW flags over the buildings, are the flags, they also requesting to put the flags in the individual classrooms? I'd heard that as part of that overall.
No, their request was to fly the flags. We have singular poles at all of our schools. The POW MIA flag, with your approval this evening, now will fly below each of the United States flags per flag etiquette and per code. So that's 10 facilities. There is one here at the Education Center that's not for individual classrooms.
Do we have U.S. flags in each individual classroom?
We do. We pledge.
We do have that.
We
Okay,
do, and we have that as in policy as part of display, along with our Pledge of Allegiance procedure.
I thought part of the overall request that was made through the state was also to put them in the rooms, but I don't think it was pushed forward as much. Just
Yeah, I
wondering if you were
haven't
thinking
seen that yet.
Okay, just a question.
Yep. And we, as I said, tomorrow morning we'll have a ceremony beginning between 7:45 and 8 o'clock to raise the high school flag. We expect to have our other schools. Many thanks to Representative Maloney this evening, donating those flags. Hope to have those up. We have to rig the ropes and the poles correctly, and we expect to have those up probably within days, if not a week, the rest of the buildings.
Thank you.
Yes, it was great to see our students as usual. Thank you to our reps for their information. It was great to see the board come together for something as important as the flag for our missing heroes. And I agree with Mr. Brophy, it was long overdue. And it's a shame that it had to be brought to us. We should have been already thinking about that. And that's all I have for now. Thanks.
I have nothing further to add.
We do have 2 meetings in May. We have one scheduled for May 13th. This is our committee of the whole meeting. Will be scheduled here for the Education Center, as well as the 27th for our legislative meeting. I do want to make one request of the board. We do have an RFP. We did receive those results. You have those results for the demographic study, enrollment study has been requested for you to review those, and it was suggested to the board that we bring back 2 entities to have a public conversation, allow for a brief presentation and somewhat mock interview of those for you to decide. The administration's made 2 recommendations to you. I would ask that by week's end, that if I don't hear anything from the board on any other suggestives, that we move forward with that so we can make contact with those organizations and schedule them appropriately, whether they can be here in person or whether we need to work with them virtually through an interview process. I would like to move forward with that for the committee meeting, with the hope of bringing one forward for a recommended motion at the end of May, so we can begin that process. So again, asking by week's end if you have any other suggestions of the organizations that were that delivered results to you, you please bring those to my attention. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Nyman moves.
We're going to have an executive session that follows this session to address personnel and potentially student issues.